Welcome to episode 22 of Chats. I'm Corbin,
I'm Sarah.
and today we are doing a little bit of a part 2 of last week's episode about the crystal ball into the future
Yes.
of COVID-19. And we're also going to, on the tail end of this, have some stuff to say about gratitude, because I feel like this is a good time
Yeah.
to really be thankful and really have the talk about gratitude. You know, positivity is what we're trying to bring each and every week to you guys
That's
on
right.
Chats during these tough times for a lot of us. So
It's about perspective.
exactly. We had lots of people react and like the last episode.
Yeah,
and we
that's probably our most views for the YouTube channel. That's the most views we've had on one of our episodes. So
Yeah.
that's really exciting to see that people are wanting to see what the future could hold.
And we even had a viewer comment on it, asking
Yeah.
us, or not asking, but giving their own
Suggestion,
opinion
yeah.
about something that we didn't talk about last week, of predictions we made for the world after COVID-19.
Which was a really interesting suggestion.
We almost talked about it. We were talking about entertainment, movies,
Yeah.
and all that. And the suggestion was, what about drive-ins, I guess is what they're
Drive-in
called.
movies,
Drive-in
yeah.
movies, which was really huge back in like the 60s, I'd say.
Well, in our area, we still have one
Yep.
within our proximity. Like, we've got one about half hour away, so we're really lucky.
1 hour away. So there's
Yeah, but they're closing down. Most of them
Yeah.
are closing down just for lack of demand. But the point that our listener was trying to make was, she mentioned that, you know, with isolating and still needing that connection, and, you know, is that something that could work? And she was kind of putting the wink wink nudge nudge out there if anybody had land. So I don't know whether she thinks that we should maybe put up a
Yeah.
inflatable in our backyard or not, but
start selling.
yeah, it'd be additional income for the family. But it's a really good point, looking at different ways and maybe how going old school, going
Yeah.
back in time and adopting some of those technologies and behaviors might actually be the way of the future.
Yeah, it'd be tricky to, you know, during this crisis right now to enforce all of the rules, but I do think it's very interesting, and I have seen in the past, and even now still, a lot of articles about drive-ins and how they could possibly work, and, you know, because people are just craving new content and entertainment right now.
Well, and even there's a sense of community at the drive-in. Even
Yes.
if you're not interacting with someone in a vehicle nearby, you still have that idea of that shared experience that I think is so important when you want to see a movie. And that's why most of us go to the movie theater and pay outrageous prices, is for the shared experience on a big screen.
sure.
So, yeah,
Yeah.
good suggestion. We like that.
Yeah, and be sure to share more with this episode
Yeah.
or any of the episodes.
What did we say? October, I think, is when you said we were going to do a review on how accurate our projections were. So
Yeah, something like that.
So we've got from now. This is April. We are in the second week of April, going into the Easter long weekend. So you've got from now right through until October to give us suggestions.
Usually, probably that's an estimation, because we're gonna wait till this is all over and things are starting to get back to normal.
We're assuming, we're being
Yeah.
positive in that it's going to be done fairly
I'm still
soon.
holding out for the summer,
Yes,
positive wise,
we want
but
summer.
we also thought of some other things, because things are changing things are ever changing every day.
Like, I think literally the day after we posted our last podcast, it was like boom, boom, boom.
Yeah.
There were more changes last week.
Yeah. So Doug Ford, Premier of Ontario, was speaking a lot about wanting to keep things within the province and even the country, which he doesn't have the power of. So he was talking more province, but you got the idea. He was talking about Canada as a whole, saying they want to start he's like, looking out for ourselves, because other countries, you know, we're trying to play ball and be nice. They're not doing as much. And
this is specifically about the masks that were required for our health workers, and the fact that the U.S. government had told 3M they did not want them selling to anyone other than the U.S., which exactly what you say is not taking a very cooperative team approach. And I thought it was interesting, and I know we talked about it when we first heard it, is like, this is going to change things, because
it's huge.
He flat out said during his press conference, his media conference that he wanted to gear up manufacturing in the province, which anyone who has lived in Ontario for the past, well, I'm pushing 50, so if you're a child of the 70s or 80s, you know that manufacturing has geared down in as many decades. Like it's been outsourced. It's gone to other places. So to hear that there's actually going to be a renewed interest in manufacturing in Ontario, so there's something that we didn't even think about, and it's already happening.
It's already happening.
Because he's reached out to a number of manufacturers to say, are you interested in doing this now? And some factories are retooling their floors just to get back in line to help with the manufacturing of medical equipment.
One of which is Bauer, the hockey company that does a lot of hockey masks, hockey sticks, just sporting stuff, and they are right now going full steam ahead on like face masks for doctors and stuff. I don't know if they're doing respirators or not.
No, I saw that the one, and I don't think it was Bauer, but another sporting good manufacturer was using the same material they used for jerseys, like for uniforms, and they were using them for robes, like for I'm using hand gestures. This is not helping me.
Gowns.
But gowns for again, they're not necessarily waterproof, but it's something that can be washed and reused again. And I've got to say that's been a concern I've had when you see how much these things are disposable and they can't reuse them. And I realize people are screaming, well, if you're trying to save lives, we can't save the environment as well. And we did touch a little bit about the environment as far as emissions and stuff. But I mean, I know myself, I've bought groceries in as many weeks and not taken my reusable bags simply because they've not been welcome. They're asking people not to bring those into the stores. I mean, you could take them, but it does take you longer to repack your groceries into those bags.
And that's the last thing you want to do is spend more time in a grocery store now.
Exactly. So I literally cringe every time I roll out of the grocery store because I've got, a dozen bright yellow bags going with me. I can't really think about it right now. I'm trying to focus on one crisis at a time. But that's something that is in the back of my mind when you think of gloves and you see people using a lot of rubber gloves and or latex gloves and then not disposing them properly. But that's a big thing. But back to the point here, it's going to be interesting to see, because in the heat of the moment, it's easy to say, we're going to revitalize our manufacturing industry. But to actually see what it looks like, I think will be interesting. I think with the passion he had in his voice when he said that, we would be hard pressed to say that Canada and Ontario won't be more self-reliant
in the future,
and government purchasing more made in Canada, made in Ontario products.
I agree with that 100%.
Yeah.
Anything else that
yes,
we thought of?
The last one I thought of was, because like right now, for a lot of young people that are still in school, again, here in Ontario, there was the back to school online learning, initiative that I'm hearing mixed reviews. Some people think it's better than nothing. Other people are saying people aren't taking it seriously and it's really kind of a joke. Time will tell, I suppose.
Yeah.
But my thought afterward was, this is going to be a very interesting time for little people.
Yes,
like
the
young
little
kids, the elementary school kids. Because at this age, you think anywhere from, kindergarten, daycare, preschool, that type of thing, right through until grade 6, grade 7, grade 8. Those little kids, this is the time that they need that socialization. They need that interaction with peers. And if they're only having interaction with their siblings or only other adults, that will change how they will develop and how they look at things. Even it'll be interesting to see how they look at the world once this is over, because it's very scary. Like right now, again, we're coming into Easter. There are official declarations around the world that the Easter Bunny is considered an essential worker, because you know what? For little kids, they don't understand that they can't go to grandma's house, but maybe the Easter Bunny won't come either, right? How does one work and not the other? So it's very confusing time for little people.
Yeah, and that's a sad thing. And, because they don't really grasp the situation of it all, or the intensity of it all. And so it does make things very difficult. And especially for the parents right now that are having to stay home because daycares are out and all that. It's very tough because they're not getting some of the education And, you think about, high school kids, but, like, some of the littles really need, like, they're learning the essentials
There's
right now.
There's basics that need to be covered,
and,
yeah.
For some kids, if there's this much of a layoff, like, if everyone learns differently, there's this much of a layoff, they forget things, right?
Well, and that's a very good point, because going from really, they were going to school before March break, but really since March break, there's been no school. And if things go the way I think they're going to go, which means the school year is going to be done, they won't be going back to a classroom. The earliest will be obviously September, and that's, best case scenario as far as we're looking. So that's kind of one of those things where you think, how much will a child lose? How much can they retain? Is there any point? And there's so many opinions. Like right now, I'm so glad I don't have to worry about this, because you parents of littles, like, what a time to have to navigate, what the best thing is for your child. And I think that jumping to the end of that discussion is, you got to do what's right for your kid.
Of course.
You can only do what's right for you in your house and what's right for your child, because sitting there stressing, trying to do work remotely, or being unemployed, a whole new stressor, or underemployed, and then trying to teach your child, when I can tell you flat out, I couldn't be a teacher.
No.
There's no part of me that ever wanted to be a teacher. And for the most part, I think I would be a terrible person to be stick in front of a bunch of kids to teach, fundamentals of learning. That would not be me. So, I think it's given people a new perspective on what their teachers, their classroom teachers, put up with their children.
And it'll be interesting to see how that reflects on the battle between Ontario teachers and the government right now.
Well, update, dun dun dun.
Yeah.
Elementary school teachers,
Yeah.
separate school teachers in Ontario have deals.
Really? So it's
only
the high
the
school.
Secondary School Teachers Federation that does not have a deal right now, and I think they're talking. I think they realize that we better get this stuff together and figure some stuff out, because it's getting really real.
the poor seniors and all that. This being their final year, that's truly sad.
Yeah.
And
that jumps into something else with mental health.
Yeah.
Probably our last topic on this, because we want to get on to gratitude and a little more positive topic.
Yeah.
But there is real concern about how people are coping right now, especially with the knowledge that this is not going to be over, in the next 2 or 3 weeks. And the knowledge that it could be recurring. There could be waves of this. Yeah. So what does that mean for people? How will they feel about it? Are they able to cope? And what tools and supports are out there for them? So it'll be interesting to see how that pans out. And certainly, if you are struggling, please reach out. And there are mental health agencies throughout Ontario. And
online,
if you can't think of what you need for help, then you want to go to the Big White Wall. That's a website. Just type in Big White Wall and it'll come up. Probably .ca. I'm going to say .ca. But anyway, that's a great resource, and it can help step you through the type of support you need, and then give you recommendations for where you can get those supports, because we certainly don't want people feeling isolated and alone, which is a good segue into our next topic
of gratitude.
Gratitude.
The positive side of this conversation.
Yeah. Well, I had a conversation with someone who's very close to our family who's really struggling. And she was really getting overwhelmed, and, if you're taking your imagery here, she was really taking on water. There was just too much around her, too much information, too much misinformation. She couldn't think clearly. She was very stressed and anxious. And it was easy for me to say, yeah, you know what, you're right. Because a lot of the stuff she was saying was true. It's a tough time right now. But my perspective, and something that in a couple of posts that I've seen online that really drove it home to me, that we really need to focus on right now, is gratitude.
Yes.
I think you would be a very rare individual if you could not find some element of what's happening right now that you couldn't turn into a positive. And I'm going to give an example of, we'll use the fact that we've got people at home with their kids.
Yes.
Right now, you are probably this is the only time in 100 years that families have been forced together and to spend time together. And yes, that can be stressful, but you are also going to make some amazing memories.
Yeah.
And how you choose to look at it, whether it's an opportunity or not, is up to you. And I'm not trying to sound holier than thou because, I mean, we've had some ugly moments ourselves here.
No one's died yet, which is a positive.
Well, it's come. We have not come to blows, but it's definitely gotten loud. But that's the point. Is it's easy to focus on that negativity, and if we did, I think we would all feed that to each other. Like I would be negative, you'd pick up on that, you'd be negative, then I'd pick up on that, and then your dad would be negative, and your brother would be negative, and it becomes like this never-ending infinity of everybody just barfing out negativity.
Yeah.
So we got to stop that. And that's actually a conversation that your brother and I had too, is that, we have to realize what we're angry at. For the most part, we're not angry at each other. People are not angry at their husband or their wife or their partner or their girlfriend or their boyfriend or their children or their parents or anybody. It's the situation. We're very upset with the situation that we find ourselves in, but none of us can change it.
No.
None of us are happy about it. So what are we going to do about this? Look at this as an opportunity to make amazing memories that you will never have the opportunity to do again. We're coming into a long weekend. We're not going to be able to do Easter. This, for some families, will be the first time that they cannot get together for Easter. Maybe this is the opportunity to try out a new tradition or introduce something different that you can do with your own immediate little family.
Or still reach out to your family. Everyone has cell phone, or everyone has phones. Most people have internet. Figure out a solution. Just, don't. The worst thing you can do is give up and say, this is how it is. Yeah. This is what I have to do, and just be sad about it.
And that's actually my next topic is technology. For people that are feeling that this is the worst that it ever could be and that you're suffering in a way no one else could ever suffer.
Nope.
They're showing that this is like a 100-year cycle. Yep. Every 100 years, something like this has happened. And so lucky us, we get it.
And
but
not to sound too morbid, but this is not that bad.
Well, for those of us that are trying to do our best, for people
who are following,
for people who are going through it, this is a nightmare. But for people who are trying to reduce exposure and things like that, yeah. But as far as technology, you're allowed to work from home. There are a number of people, a vast majority of people, that are not essential now. So you're able to work from home. That's never been doable before, but because of technology, we can. Entertainment, we talked about this a lot last week, right? Like, you're able to stream. You're able to game. You're able to connect.
Whatever you want, whenever you want.
24/7 if you want.
Yep.
So there's an entertainment factor to help distract you. And something that we've been doing is each night before bed, we'll try and watch a funny movie or a funny show. A little sidebar. Tonight's the series finale of Schitt's Creek, so we just need a moment of silence for Schitt's Creek. And there we are. We love Schitt's Creek. If you haven't seen it, you got to check it out. But anyway, that good for a laugh, puts you in a positive space when you're going to try and silence your head and go to sleep. Medical, and I'm going to let you deal with this. For people that are trying to deal with medical matters, I won't say issues because I don't think you have an issue, but you have a medical matter that you're dealing with.
My knee.
Yeah. I thought that this happened last week and it blew my mind.
This is still in the topic and wheelhouse of technology.
Yes.
But I had an appointment to figure out what's going on with my knee. It's kind of
This is going back to like last August when you broke your toe and then the boot came off.
Yeah,
and
this is a problem that has followed the toe. And so I thought they canceled the appointment because of the virus, which is totally fair. And I thought I'm not going to hear about it till, I'm in school or whenever this virus is over, which could be later than that.
Which was a real bummer. That was kind of frustrating.
And all of a sudden one day we get a call and they said that there's an app and a website where you can contact the doctor. The doctor can make an appointment and it's like an online doctor's office. And it was super cool. It's almost like Skype though.
Yeah.
But it's very well done, and I was able to have a full one-on-one with this doctor.
He shared notes. He sent you your X-rays.
Yeah, he sent notes, and I was able to, practically everything we could except for him to feel it out. But even that, he said we pretty much think we have a handle on it. And even when he said, well, the solution and next step is physiotherapy, which usually is in person, he turned around and said, well, there's another app for that where you can Skype the
Connect,
person,
yeah.
and it's practically like a one-on-one, kind of like a fitness or yoga type thing where the person takes you through the steps of what you need to be doing, and you can let them know how you're feeling and all that. So it's quite incredible how medical's been able to do this, and he seemed like he was at home or a home office. So
I think because he's a specialist too, and he's very seasoned in his field, I think what you were able to tell him gave him
Yes.
enough information that he's like, okay,
and he's a knee expert.
yeah, if it's doing this and this and not that and that, we're looking at
Yes.
option A.
And
So
it's not like
I
we-
felt confident in
Yeah.
talking. I mean, I was able to take notes and listen to the appointment, which was nice too, because I would have probably gone with you
To the
anyway.
appointment, yep.
But it was nice to have that and to ask questions. Like, I feel like we just got caught up,
Mm-hmm.
like, because we thought March was a lost cause for the knee, and here we are in April, and boom, we're right back on track
back.
again. So
It was great. And the other thing I was going to bring up, which is another topic, is space. Kind of the opposite of the togetherness of family, but sometimes people do need space. But I'm thankful for the space we have because we live on a larger plot of land than the average person. And even then, you know, our old house was more of an average sized yard. Even then, I'd be thankful to live there, because when you take that compared to, say, a tiny New York apartment,
yeah, that's tough.
everyone who lives in a house or a place with a yard or, you know,
You have
anything like
options.
that, you have options. Be thankful for that, because you can go for walks. You can, you know, throw the ball in your backyard. You can play basketball in your driveway, play hockey in the driveway. There's so much you can do with what you have. And that's kind of the silver lining stuff we were talking about.
I do think that there's also options, though, for when we're talking about the people who live in apartments, because we never thought of it as how we would deal with that, because that's not our reality. But you hear news articles about, you know, people having to go down the elevator one person at a time, and, you know, wiping down the buttons before they touch them. I think for someone living in an apartment, you can't focus on not having space, because I think that could be overwhelming.
Yeah.
I think the other part of that, as far as gratitude, is, do you have access to a phone? Do you have access to a computer or a TV or something that allows you to mentally escape?
Yeah.
And if you have the ability to do any kind of log on with yoga or a physical fitness, and no, you're not going to do a full circuit training in a 2-bedroom apartment in Toronto, but I think there's ways to look at it and challenge yourself on how to be creative. And again, that's going to sound totally self-serving because we're not in that reality, but just trying to look from a place of gratitude and flipping the script and what's the positive here.
And even then, you know, you're in a small apartment in New York. The silver lining of the thing to be thankful for is you aren't homeless. You
Exactly.
aren't, because even if you're homeless, you're either on your own or you're being grouped in with other homeless people, which is more of a risk for catching the virus. And just, you can have a silver lining anywhere.
Yeah.
You just have to look for it, and once you find it, you have to kind of cling on to it and be like, I have this. Of course.
And someone, it reminds me of that meme that I've seen. It comes around like every 6 months, where you've got the guy in his car looking at, you know, they're at a stoplight and he's looking at the it's like a little cartoon. So it's a guy in his car looking at the guy beside him in a flashier car. And he's like, oh, I wish I had that car. And the next image is someone on a bicycle looking at the first guy's car saying, oh, I wish I had a car and not a bike. And then the next one is someone walking, looking at the person on a bike saying, I wish I had a bike. And then going on, and the person on who was walking, you know, there's someone up in a window looking down, and this person's in a wheelchair saying, I wish I could walk.
Yeah.
So there's always someone that's going to have something better than you.
Yeah.
There's always going to be someone who has less than you. And it's not healthy to compare.
No.
And what we really need to focus on is taking care of ourselves and learning from this. So to speak to the homeless issue, what can we do better for those people after this, so that no one can feel like there's no reason for gratitude? And someone could argue, it's like, well, if they're homeless and they're being put in a shelter, they should be grateful for the shelter. Yes, there is that too. However, it's a bigger dialogue than I think we can get into today.
And for every silver lining, how we say there's a silver lining for everything, there's a learning and teachable moment in almost every reaction or action that happens right now. So something once again, that will happen, in the future. Yeah.
And one of the things I have, like, moving into the next, area of gratitude is exactly what you said, that, and I mentioned this to the person I was talking to recently, is, they have a safe home, that they are able to walk in their neighborhood, that, they are able to walk. Because again, breaking it down for some people, it's that simple, that you need to understand that physically you are healthy. Be appreciative for your health. I look at gratitude and saying things like, I'm really happy to live in a smaller community right now. I'm hearing stories from other family where, they live in larger centers and they're having some real challenges right now. For us, we have 2 grocery stores in our town, and at times the food is limited. Like, we don't have the full range of everything that we put on our grocery list, but we're getting more than our basics. We're definitely doing well, and I'm very grateful for that. Being able to put in an order and bring home food for my family, that makes me feel good. Moving a little bit away from that and into the broader picture is, I'm really grateful, and this is because of my background, I'm really grateful for the journalists that we have in this country. I don't necessarily agree with every news outlet's position, but I think the fact that we have a field of people that are dedicated and responsible, and the reporting that's being done right now, especially in Canada, seems to be fair. It can be slanted from time to time depending on who the person is saying, or on the TV at the time, but I really feel that for the most part they're being reflective of what's happening, and they're not looking to skew or downplay or inflame a situation, which is so important. You don't want people panicking in a time like this.
And the main thing is, they're risking their lives to get this to you. Yeah. We see on not just newspaper or bloggers or anything like, but on the news, they're going out with their microphone attached to a boomstick.
Yeah, or a hockey stick. I actually did see that. Yeah,
interviewing people, and still, they're out there. They're essential workers, and they deserve just as much respect as people in the grocery stores, I feel, because they're getting out information just like people are getting out food from the grocery store. They're giving out important and vital information. Yeah. And even on the flip side, positive information, if they're doing like a lighter story.
They're really trying to make sure there's balance with that. Yeah.
Which is highly appreciated. So I for a bit there, I was like, do we? But then I thought, no, I think we should be grateful for those people, because we would be in the dark right now.
Oh, no clue.
Like other countries who don't have reliable sources of news.
Yeah. Or reporting with agendas.
Yes.
And the other thing that I thought about, because again, every now and then I kind of go back to when I was a reporter, and I think about that. And, a lot of people are saying, again, tapping into our mental health is, you shouldn't listen to this all day. You shouldn't be watching too much of this. You should go do other things. But what if you're a reporter? What if you're a commentator? You have to cover this stuff. You have to speak to it. And for some of these people, they don't get a break for hours. Like they're sitting there and they're not just absorbing it; they are in it. And that's got to be wearing for sure, I think. But so yeah, for me, I'm very appreciative of the fact, and I have a lot of gratitude for the people that are exactly what you say, going out there and putting themselves in situations and reporting all hours of the day and night and following this case that is literally changing
daily,
every day. It's insane. My final point, and open to you if you've got anything you want to add, Corb, but I'm really grateful to live in this country.
Yes,
I cannot say 100%. That enough, that being Canadian, there's moments like when you have the Olympics, or certain times like on Canada Day, or, different things like that, where you sit there and you get a little sentimental. But, oh my God, I said to your dad the other day, I can't even think of what someone would have to pay me right now or give me to live in other countries right now. And I'm going to name it. Like, I wouldn't live in the U.S. right now. It absolutely terrifies me. And if you are in the U.S. right now, I hope you are well, and we certainly
Healthy.
are thinking about you. And not to get political, I don't want to get political, but I'm just so worried when you see the numbers and you see what's happening. I'm just grateful to live in this little country, even though it's physically large. Our population is much, much smaller. And I'm really appreciative of the leaders that we have. And again, not to be partisan, because I wouldn't consider myself, I don't think I'm a full liberal, and I'm definitely not a full conservative, but to have the leadership that we've had, and certainly how they've dealt with some pretty delicate matters and communicated that to the public.
Serious matters.
Yeah. Like, just amazing leadership. Has it been perfect? No. Is now the time to criticize and dissect? No. Hell no.
Is anyone going to be perfect in a situation that has literally never happened before worldwide?
In our lifetime, yeah.
No, it won't.
Yeah.
It won't happen.
We can go back and you know, when this is well in the rear view, is the time to kind of say, okay, everybody, let's postmortem this and discuss, you know, what worked, what didn't work, how can we be better prepared? And this is going to, you know, going back to the first half of the podcast, this is going to impact our
relationships.
Well, our health system is what I'm thinking, like specifically, like how we invest in our healthcare system. And it's also because of the funding and supports that have had to go out for people, whether it's EI or, you know, some kind of subsidy program to help industries. We're going to be paying for this for an inordinate amount of time, because this is the largest support ever handed out from a government ever. So nobody's asking questions now. Do not ask questions.
No.
And whenever I see a certain member of the opposition every now and then poking his head up, I feel like whack-a-mole. Now's not the time. Do not criticize. No one can say they would have done it better.
Nope.
You can't.
No. Because it's never been done before.
It's never been done before. So anyway, that's my list of gratitude and things that I'm very thankful.
Before you wrap up, I've been seeing a lot of people saying stuff like, you know, I may not have voted for this person, but I have to admit they're doing really well.
I've said it.
And I'd agree with that. It's like in a movie when two people who aren't on the same side team up because they realize that there's
a bigger evil.
There's a bigger evil, and at the end of the day, there's something that links them, and that's the country is what links them, and they realize to set that aside. And it's not like in other countries where it's so split
polarized,
down the middle that they're attacking each other, still thinking things are political when it should obviously be the country that is
humanitarian is what it should be. Yeah.
So I agree with you 100%, and I think that's a lot to be grateful for. And I feel.
Did you have anything else? I kind of
you took a couple of them, but that's okay.
I'm grateful for you taking them.
I added the space stuff in, but I think that really puts a bow on it quite nicely, and I hope that list makes people look at situations in their own lives or others' lives in different ways, and maybe brightens up their day somehow.
And we're all going to struggle. Like you and I talked today. Today wasn't a great day. Just most days have gone by really fast. Like I literally blink and it's the end of the week again. So I'm not complaining from that standpoint. Today it just felt clunky, and I don't know, you know, where that came from. It certainly wasn't because of anything I was doing. But I just think every now and then it's like a regular day if you're at work. Not all days at work are great either, right? Yeah. So just be kind to yourself and take it easy. Try to use our little list of gratitude to see if there's anything you can take out of that. If it's just going to be a tough day for you, don't beat yourself up. Do what you need to do to get through the day, and try again tomorrow with any goals or objectives you have. And a couple of tips as far as things that you can do to help get you through the day. Could be things like exactly what we've been saying. Pick up the phone and call someone. Or FaceTime someone. I really love FaceTime because you get to see another person and you get to see their reactions. And I think it triggers something different in your brain, quite frankly, than just a phone conversation. Yeah. But that might not be practical for everybody. But if you are able to do that, also make sure you're eating well. And every now and then, and we've noticed when we've slipped and kind of gotten to the junk food, you got to pull yourself back out of that. If you're eating crap, you're going to feel like crap. And make sure that you're getting sleep. That's a tough one too, because if you're tired, everything just seems overwhelming. Yeah. So start with that. And then goal setting. We could do a whole thing on goal setting, but just something about, you know what, you've got a little project that you've never gotten into. You started it and you couldn't stop it. Give yourself, or you couldn't finish it, give yourself a goal and say, okay, I'm going to have this done within the next 2 or 3 weeks. and focus on it, whether it's a puzzle or painting or sculpting or being creative or just doing something, your closet's been driving you crazy. Commit to something and finish it, and you will be amazed how much better you feel. I've noticed a difference when I've been able to do that with a couple of little things around the house here too.
Yeah, keeping your mind occupied and distracted without losing sight of valuable information that's coming out daily. And
balance.
Exactly.
Yeah.
Everything comes down to a balance. Well, where can they hear from us and listen to more podcasts if they want to? And
well,
get
you can
distracted
email
by it?
us.
Yes.
They can email us at chatspodcast@gmail.com. We would love to hear from you there. We also really enjoy getting feedback on our posts on Facebook, as well as YouTube. And then also we have the various apps.
Yes, as you just said, it's on YouTube, Spotify, Apple Podcasts, and Google Play. You can listen to all of our entire library of podcasts, all 23 plus episodes. Even though this is episode 22, we had a zero episode.
We had bonus content the first couple.
23 episodes. It's probably around almost a day's worth of listening, I'd say, almost. So enjoy that, and
make sure you're giving us some likes and some
for sure
recommendations.
Share with friends and family, and be sure to give feedback. We love lots of feedback. So this has been me, Corbin,
and Sarah,
and thank you guys for listening, and stay tuned for our latest chats.